Welcome to the show, everyone.
Thanks for having us, Tim.
Before we get started with Trill and Rob, I would like to just, for context and for the audience, ask Carmen to help us set a table with a little bit of context about IGEM. Can you tell us, when did it start? What's the mission of IGEM, and what's your role there?
Perfect. Thank you, TM. So I'm going to take a step back. So with Idaho Commerce, our mission is really, we are charged with state economic development across the state to make healthy communities, to make our Idaho companies stronger, to create a business-friendly environment for companies across the state. So that's really our charge as Idaho Department of Commerce. And within that, we have a unique program, IGEM, that helps drive economic development, but kind of in a unique fashion. It does it by helping the commercialization path and journey for entrepreneurs that have new viable technologies, products, and services. And so there are grants that are available. We have $1 million in grant funding that are available for Idaho companies to use to help with the development of new products, technologies, and services. And that's done in collaboration with Idaho's 3 public research universities. That's Boise State, Idaho State University, and the University of Idaho. And so it's a nice public-private partnership.
Okay, so grant money from the state that's aimed at economic development, commercializing new technologies, and key partner that you have at the table are those 3 universities then?
Yes.
We'll dive into how they are involved in the program by learning more from Trill and Rob. And so let me turn it over to those 2. Trill, if I can just start with you, brief introduction on yourself and tell us what Free2Fee does.
Yeah, thank you. And it's an honor to be a part of this panel today. And I appreciate the work you guys put into Boise Startup Week. So I would be remiss not to mention that. So as Tim mentioned, I am Dr. Trill. I am the founder of Free2Feed, and I am also a molecular biologist and mother of 2. Free2Feed is helping parents to navigate infant food intolerances. And we're starting by creating a test strip that will allow moms to test their breast milk for the presence of allergens at home.
Okay, very cool. So an allergen test strip. Okay, very cool. Rob, if I can turn it over to you, brief introduction and tell us about Washi.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, for having me. Rob Pilecki, CEO and founder of Washi, the world's first smart toilet seat for public restrooms. We are taking over toilet seat covers and eliminating these useless things forever. So
very cool. So, okay, we have a smart toilet seat and we have a test strip for allergens. Great spectrum. Love it. Wouldn't want to have it any other way. So let's get started here. Trill, if I can start with you. Tell us about how you found out about IGEM.
Absolutely. So I found out about IGEM as I started to dig into the entrepreneurial space and ecosystem in Boise, basically. So as I started to go to events and meet more people and start networking, you always get these little nuggets. And so one of those nuggets was, oh, you should apply for IGEM. And there's a person you should talk to. Her name is Carmen. And that was basically like where it started. And then I happened to run across Carmen while I was competing for the Idaho Entrepreneurial Challenge. And we found each other in the restroom, in the ladies' room, where she complimented my attire, which I super appreciated, right before I went on stage. And then afterwards, in the midst of talking to people, I got that nugget again of somebody coming up to me and saying, oh, you really have to apply for IGEM. I really think this would be a good fit for you. And that is Carmen. And I finally got the official introduction, which was great. So that is how I originally found out about IGEM. And from there, it did end up being a lot of networking. So Carmen linking me with potential university partners, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit, and really finding a good fit from there and applying.
Okay, so you actually were partaking in another event, one of the key assets, again, we have in the state here, which is the Idaho Entrepreneurial Challenge, the Boise State. And then there was a bathroom encounter. I'll leave it at that. Rob, tell us about how you found out about IGEM.
Yeah, we were just laughing about this. Trill meets Carmen in the bathroom, and I meet Carmen in a hotel lobby. But yeah, I was invited to a conference at Fort Hall, and my business partner and I said, "Hey, let's just go check this out." We didn't even know what it was. And we hear Carmen talk and speak, and we're like, "What? The government is going to give entrepreneurs money? Really? We need to get get Carmen in the conversation." So we wait till the right second to approach Carmen and sit her down, and we get her all to ourselves, and she explains this program to us where they're going to give us money for our product. It's history from there.
Cool. So, okay, that really caught my attention. The state of Idaho gives entrepreneurs money for economic development and commercialization. Rob, tell me a little bit about some of the mechanics. Did you have to apply for this? Was it an application process that you went through?
Yeah, so it was pretty simple. ISU took lead on the application. I had my part in the whole application, but we put together a package and presented to the Department of Commerce. And there was a few companies that were presenting on the day we went, and gave our pitch. We walked in with a toilet seat, and everyone walks in with their fancy tech stuff, and we come out with some money. But the best thing for us is when the program was explained to us, partnering with a research institution that would give us a document saying we've tested your product and your product is legit, and we can give this to our customers, airports, the stadiums, and say, hey, this has been tested by a research institution. It's been huge for us. Also, we were kind of iffy about students working on our project. We're like, I used to be a student. I didn't know anything, right? But it has changed everything. The business department, mechanical engineering department, chemical, everything has come into play. And I mean, we have some smart people here at Idaho State, and smarter than I am. And it's really helped my business. Seriously, they've found issues with my product that we fixed. And with prototyping and just testing alone, it's just helped our company out big time.
So I was really focused on, product development, envisioning labs at universities, but you're saying there were other parts of the university, like the business department, the chemistry labs, that were also, that you had access to.
Oh yeah, we got everything. Especially the business department, Bengal Solutions here in Idaho State University. I didn't even know what forecasting was. Listen, I'm a social work major. I became an entrepreneur by luck. I just said, hey, I'm going to go jump and try to do this. And these MBA students came out, with all kinds of data for us. Forecasting with the EBITDA. I did not know what an EBITDA was. And they, did all these reports for us. So me learning that, and also them giving us some guidance on, hey, you guys should go in this direction when you sell your seeds, and especially the engineering department. You should see what they've done. It is like top-notch testing. So awesome stuff.
Wow. So really, you got the whole gamut in terms of the departments, pitching in on helping WashU develop the product. You mentioned one thing earlier, and I want to talk about that because it's so important. Different startups take different paths, and when it comes to external validation at an early stage, like you said, hey, this product has been tested and validated by a university. Trill, as I'm thinking about a test strip for allergens, medical comes to mind, and every time I think of medical, I think, wow, the requirements, high requirements, high barriers to entry, highly regulated. Tell us about your experience in getting that external validation and working with the university. Which university, by the way, are you working with?
Yeah, so I'm working with the University of Idaho with Dr. McGuire and Dr. McGuire. They are the leading experts in human and mammalian milk research. So they are absolutely amazing. I'm incredibly blessed to have the leading experts in the state of Idaho for breast milk nutrition research experience. So with that being said, the interesting piece is that I really love that it's Rob and I on this panel today, because Rob's on like the back end of the IGEM experience in reaping a lot of the benefits, and I'm in the front end. We're just starting. So we just got our IRB, which is the internal review board approval, and we're pushing forward with the research right now. So I'm definitely in the infancy, pun intended, of my stage with IGEM. So with that being said, what's really important to me is that third-party validation for a few reasons. One, we will have an FDA pre-submission process. So we are a Class 1 exempt product, which means that we have to do a submission, but we don't necessarily have to do like a full clinical trial for the FDA. So we're essentially telling them like we exist and this is the research that we've done. And then the other piece is definitely the buy-in by the medical community, because they will have a huge part in the success or failure of Breed to Feed. So with that, a huge cornerstone of us hitting the market with a very valuable product is having third-party validation. And there's been other companies that will have done other detection mechanisms, not for breast milk, but other detection mechanisms for like at-home space. And they've missed that piece and totally missed the mark in getting the medical and science community behind them. And being a part of the science community, I know how important that is to say, not only is my own research backing this up, but someone else who's a leader in the space is backing it up as well. Or doesn't, right? Like I said, we're in the infancy, so maybe it won't turn out exactly the way that we expect it to, and then we'll pivot and push forward from there. So with that, like our go-to-market strategy, this is a big piece of it and a vital part. So we're super excited to have the opportunity to partner with the university, because this is something we were going to have to do one way or another. And so now it's a way that we can do it in a partnership style through a grant with Idaho backing us up, which is incredible.
That's impressive. Thinking about the access to the lab and the access to the resources that you have through IGEM. And so, both of you kind of tell me, I'm imagining this, that you get an office at the university, maybe a desk somewhere, and you maybe like an entrepreneur in residence, you get to take your test strip or your toilet seat in, and people will work on you. What's a typical day, when you're interacting, and maybe pre-COVID or post-COVID or during COVID, however you want to put it, but when you interact with these university resources, like what's the setting like? What are those interactions like?
Yeah, so I'll start, Rob, if you don't mind. So for me, it's super interesting because we're collecting a fairly large sample set of breast milk from local moms, going through a dosing, basically a dietary intervention. So with that, we have the University of Idaho, which is in a smaller location and is a long ways away, right? So like me just bebopping into the lab on a regular basis isn't really feasible because I live in Boise. So with that, we have weekly conference calls where we're pushing forward, and our plan is to have 2 collection sites, basically, where the University of Idaho will have a collection site at their university where we'll go through this whole protocol with a number of women there. And then we'll have another collection site here at Boise. And I actually have a Boise State University lab space that I rent via Free to Feed, where moms will come and do the dosing study with me here locally.
So you're really doubling up on those university resources.
I am.
Obviously, they're key to product development for both of you. Rob, tell me about your interactions with the engineering department, for example. Walking in with a toilet seat obviously gets people's attention. And you mentioned earlier also the prototyping aspect, so very hands-on physical products. So what's a day like, Rob, when you interact with the folks at ISU?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, we used to meet on a monthly basis with the whole team. The business department, the chemical, engineering department, we all used to meet together and give updates on the project. Post-COVID has been difficult, right? We've been keeping in contact by Zoom, by email, but most recently, when everybody came back to school, I was able to go down there and sit in the engineering department and watch them work. They are testing how many cycles my batteries go through. So they have built devices that test my battery. They've built devices to test my hinges. So our toilet seat will go up and down 1,000 times, and they're testing my hinges until they know, hey, Rob, probably in a 2-year span, your hinge will break and then you need to send the company new hinges. So it's been awesome. The things that the students have done, especially not just for me, but I feel like they are learning, a big part of their jobs or their future. They're learning a lot, especially with the mechanical engineering department. The students, every time I walk in with a new prototype, they're like, you should see their eyes. Their eyes are like, they're so excited to see a toilet seat. But yeah, it has been fun, sitting with the students, watching them work, and then giving my input and seeing the changes, how fast they make changes. It's been really awesome.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on their experience, actually. So when students, me as a student, when a startup or actual business came into class, I would light up, because that's really why I was in school. And so you're saying they're learning, especially as MEs, mechanical engineers, how much are they interested in the actual business as opposed to just a toilet seat? Do they get engaged and sort of identify themselves with that?
Yeah, the mechanical engineering part, they're like really, how do I say this? They get really nerdy on the the technical aspects of the toilet seat. So when I bring them a new part or a new piece, and they get to dig into like CAD designs that my engineers have given me. I mean, these guys are like giddy. They like giggle and look, hey, look at this, look at that. So they get all excited about when I bring in new things. The business department, though, yeah, there's an entrepreneur spirit building here in Pocatello, Idaho, and Washi is kind of the face of that. A lot of people in this area know Washi now, and so when the students are kind of linked to Washi, hey, I worked on Washi, I worked on that project. It's huge for them. So yeah, it's been an overall great experience for us.
So I happen to have some background in HALT testing, highly accelerated live testing, and robustness testing. And so if, I know you're not an engineer, but I also know that you were pretty crafty in the early days of building your first prototype. You were a regular at Home Depot and you put that thing together.
That's right.
What would it have looked like without those resources, without that expertise? Now I can, again, you're pretty, you could have probably MacGyvered a test rig yourself. Would have been effective? Probably not. And this is still a compliment to you. But like, if you didn't have those resources that took that off your plate, really, and then let you focus on other areas, what would I have done to your product development?
I probably would be 2 years behind. Seriously, like not even just trying to pump IGEM or be that guy. I would be 2 years behind. The work that these guys have done for me, especially the business department, and they teach me. Actually, I give them problems. They say, hey, Rob, here's the solution. Students are. And then the mechanical engineering department on my product, on product development, they've helped me shape the design of the seat. The design is, because of their recommendations, the design of the seat looks like a spaceship now. It looks futuristic. And so I would be probably 2 years behind, still trying to do this on my own. So, the lonely route as an entrepreneur, trying to do this on my own. Now I've had a whole engineering team, a business department helping me out. The chemistry department helping me out. It's been huge for my company. We received about, I think, $90,000 from the Department of Commerce, and I don't have that kind of money. At the $20,000 that I won from Boise Startup Week, I needed that money to survive. So it's been a blessing for us, man. It really has.
I mean, that's a major takeaway. I'm glad you're able to quantify, even if it's an estimate, 2 years. So, for our viewers in startup land, there's usually two lands. One's called the Valley of Death, and the other one is the Land of Profit. And most startups don't spend or cannot spend even 1 year in the Valley of Death. So if this saved you 2 years, arguably IGEM has played a role in keeping this company, this product alive. And so, Trill, applying that same question, to the test strip, and again, every time I hear test strip, I think it's so complex to build this thing. If you didn't have the resources, the access to the university, and those the two doctors, where would your product be, you think, if it wasn't for that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And it's a little bit difficult to answer because we're so early as far as like giving it a good, quantity and like Rob did, which I super appreciate as well. What I will say is that a validation study would have to be done one way or the other on this type of test mechanism. And it's so valuable to us to do it early because we can nail down exactly what may or may not be wrong with the product now and iterate and fix it before it gets into the hands of moms, which is so important. So with that, we could have done a third-party validation with another company and paid for it out of pocket, but that would have cost a ton of money. So doing a similar study like this, but with another party, a third party that does biotech validation, would have probably cost us upwards of $1 million. And so IGEM gave us $212,000, which is what we needed in order to do it with the university, with specific professors who this is their expertise, right? Like this is what they do. And the other really valuable piece to this that I want to mention is that this is leaping forward the research field too. So not only is this very valuable for Free to Feed, but our current understanding of this topic, which is that of dietary proteins that mom is ingesting ending up in her breast milk. So like the mechanism behind that and what that looks like. And so with our study, we're actually not just validating our test strip, we're also doing additional pieces of the study that are so important, looking at the microbiome of mom, looking at the microbiome of the infant, and then the biomarkers in breast milk. So we're really leaping forward our understanding of this topic in the research field as well, which is so important because all in all, what this will do is empower women to continue breastfeeding, which is the goal for Free to Feed, is the goal for University of Idaho partner. So with that, I'm super excited and hope that I can say the same thing that Rob does now, that, it's saved us probably 2 years and, an immeasurable amount of money, most likely, to go through this route.
I see. No, that was a great way of answering my question. So really what you're also saying is when you're through with this program, looking back, one of the things that you're looking to get out of it is that validation testing. Okay. So, as I'm listening to the two of you, you run startups, time, money, resources are our three biggest friends, three biggest enemies. And it sounds to me that the IGEM program really removed, and I'm going to call them barriers because, not having the money, not having the time or the resources are really barriers to entry. So IGEM was able to remove those barriers, and in removing those barriers, the money itself goes to the universities. And Carmen, this is where I'd like to maybe bring you back in and help me understand, the money comes from IGEM and then it goes to the universities. It stays in Idaho, right?
Correct. So these are state funds. These are state grant dollars. And so they are reinvested, if you will, in our Idaho universities, Boise State, Idaho State, U of I. And the nice thing is that it's non-dilutive. And I want to bring this out, especially to entrepreneurs. It's non-dilutive since the grant is awarded to the university, but helps that Idaho company. It's non-dilutive, which is a key phrase, especially for startups and entrepreneurs. And so if you think about it this way, our entrepreneurs and our startups, they're positioned to accelerate their technology, their product out to market. Our universities are really well positioned with labs, with researchers, with equipment and laboratory, just access that most companies may not have. And so those are the resources that are really available to our entrepreneurs like Rob and Trill. And so to me, it's kind of that win-win partnership. And I think more companies, if they knew, they would definitely be taking advantage of these resources that all of our three universities have.
I think I can add a third win. The company wins, the startup wins, I should say, the university wins, and if all goes well, and we know how startups work, the community will win because economic development will result from that. And so I think that third one is also, it's very important, especially from Trailhead's point of view. It's certainly something that an asset Trailhead doesn't have. But we have you as a partner, and we can refer people to you. So let's talk about that for a moment. I'm going to turn it back to Trill and Rob. Think about other early stage entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who are potentially in the same position Trill you are now, and Rob you were maybe 2 years ago. What would you tell them about finding out more about IGEM, or how would they go about finding out if it's a good fit for them? Trill, if you could just give us a couple of pointers on that, and then we'll turn it to Rob.
Absolutely. So I think first and foremost would be to evaluate your company and see if it's in a good spot where a partnership like this would be valuable, or is that a little bit further down the line, right? So Carmen and I spoke a year plus before I applied. So that relationship occurred a year or so before my application ever hit her desk. Even if you are in the stage where you're like, I'm not quite ready for that, but it sounds amazing, I would definitely reach out to Carmen, reach out and start talking, because you can start creating those relationships. And one, you have to find a university partner. So talking to Carmen about your company and about what you do, then she can refer you to the universities. And there are specific people at each university who does this for a living. And so then they can say, oh, you work with breast milk, I know just the person for you, and start making those connections, because that's really important.
Rob, was your experience similar, or did you go to the dance a little bit quicker than Trill did?
Yeah, I think Trill hit the nail right on the head. Entrepreneurs need to be at a stage where it's not the light bulb stage. It's not, hey, I just have this idea. Can you guys figure this out for me? It has to be ready where students are ready to work on a physical product. You need something done. They're ready to work. I waited a little until I had prototyping done myself. We had new seats in, and the company was at a stage where actual R&D could be done. A lot of companies, I don't know. Talking with Idaho State University, they said a lot of companies came in way too early. Just with an idea, and that wasn't really the place that they would like to be. They want to be digging in for R&D and getting their students, getting their hands dirty. So I kind of waited until that point, and it was perfect timing for us.
Fantastic. And so if I could turn it back to you, Carmen, maybe something that wasn't mentioned between Rob and Trill. What does IGEM look for? What is a good fit for IGEM? And partially this may depend on the university as well, because as I understand it, various universities have various fields of expertise. So what is it that you look for? If I have a startup and I'm coming to you, help me understand the lens through which you look at me.
So one, I'm going to be looking at, what is your technology? What is it? What's novel? What do you want to do with this? And then what I'm going to then try to partner you with is we're agnostic to the universities. And what I mean by that is we're going to try to partner you with the strongest university, because each of them have their center of excellence. Their centers where they're really focused, whether it's robotics, whether it's ag, whether it's biotech, whether it's health. What we're going to try to do is partner that individual with the strongest partnership. So that way that technology, that research and development goes even further. And sometimes if it's a situation where it's, let's say, engineering and can be done at all three, then we work with that entrepreneur to say, who would you like to work with? And they may already have a partnership. And so we're just going to continue to foster that partnership. But what we're trying to do is really leverage the expertise at the universities to make it just the most, to me, the winning team. And that's something that the council. So although I manage the program, there is a council that's selected by the governor and statute that make the funding decisions. And so this just ties hand in hand with Idaho Commerce's mission of economic development, getting a return on investment for the state, for these tax dollars that are paying for these grants.
As an ecosystem builder myself, I am just so proud that our state is putting money into startups, into entrepreneurs. It's really an investment, as you put it. It's not we're just giving them money, see you later. We're investing in our future. We're investing in the future of these entrepreneurs, the two of us that have joined us today. And so with that, any cool new startups sort of on the horizon for IGEM that you're hoping to work with? Can you share anything and spill the beans, or is that already?
Oh, I better hold off.
Okay.
I better hold off. And hopefully you'll have 2 additional speakers at next year's Boise Startup Week that came through IGEM. So I don't want to spill the beans quite yet. But I really love the way you phrase that. It's an investment. It's an investment in these entrepreneurs. It's an investment in our universities. It's an investment on those students that are helping with cutting edge technology, that are actually forecasting and using what they're learning on these grants as they go into the workforce. So to me, it's an investment all around. It's an investment in innovation.
And it's quite unique. I haven't heard of many other states that have programs similar to this. I think I heard of 1 or 2. I was just doing some research the other night. So kudos to the state of Idaho, to the Department of Commerce. Thank you for doing this. Really kudos to Trill and Rob for being resourceful and finding ways to continue bootstrap and continue the path of entrepreneurship and product development, both for Free to Free and for WashE. We at Boise Startup Week, we root for both of you. We obviously have some history. Both of you are no strangers. Been to Startup Week, been to Trailhead. I think we've done our part in helping you along the way. But startups get to a point where Trailhead's resources and capacity just isn't a fit anymore. And that's where partners like IGEM come in. And for that, I just want to thank you again, Carmen.
Thank you.
Trill and Rob, thank you both for joining. We're about out of time. I'm going to wrap this call up. And I look forward to seeing all of you very soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.